When the snow closes the mountain, if you beg with sincerity, you will be blessed by the mountain god. No matter what you believe in, at the mountain god temple on Mount Snow Moon, it is must be worshipped ghosts and gods devoutly. This is an old legend that has been passed down in the Snow Moon Mountains. This is the most common phrase that older people will tell those who go to Snow Moon Mountain to pay their respects. Over time, it has become a custom to be followed when traveling to and from Snow Moon Mountain. My name is Su Xuan. I'm a normal sophomore girl. According to my mother, the year I was born, there was a lot of snow, so I was named Xuan. There's a very tall mountain in our town called Snow Moon Mountain, and a temple on the mountain that is said to house the god who blesses the town. The town has some traditional customs. Boys and girls who have reached the age of 16 should go to the temple on Snow Moon Mountain to pay their respects, begging for good weather and peace in the future. Today is the day I just turned 16 and I'm about to go to the mountain temple to pray myself. The town gets a lot of snow every winter. This year is no exception. The snow is so thick I hardly walk out of the house. I looked at the goose feather snow falling from the sky inside and opened my umbrella. The distance from the bottom of the mountain to the mountain temple is not particularly long. It was snowing heavily and the roads were a little slippery with snow cover. I'm walking extra slow. I don't know why I don't feel any coldness on such a snowy day. Soon I came to the mountain temple. I crossed the threshold with my right foot, walked in and knelt down in front of the old futon, worshipped with reverence. It's snowing more and more. The wind whipped through the snow and I glanced up to see outside. I put away my umbrella and decided to stay at the mountain temple to avoid the snow for now. After some time, the snow still seems to have no intention of stopping at all. It's almost evening. I looked out the door at the snow falling more and more and began to get anxious. I remembered what my grandmother told me.
If you beg with all your heart when the snow closes the mountain god will bless you.
I closed my eyes and folded my hands together over my chest. If there is a mountain god indeed, please stop the snow and let me go home. I slowly opened my eyes to see that the snow was still not stopping. I sighed, thinking that otherwise I'd just rush out of here.
What are you gonna do? Are you going to go out like this?
Who is there? I suddenly heard a voice, and I turned my head warily. I saw a skinny teenager standing behind me, calmly watching me. A teenager with white hair, a pretty face, and skin as white as snow. The eyelashes were the color of snow, slightly covering the gray-blue pupils. Are you Mountain God? The teenager pursed his lips as if he had something to say.
No, I'm not.
Your here proves that you are not an ordinary human, right?
You don't even know what god you're worshipping? The god of blessing here has long since been immortalized hundreds of years ago, and no longer exists.
So you're the god of blessing here now?
No, I'm not.
The teenager immediately dismissed my question. Then you.
My name is Yinsu.
The teenager suddenly told me his name. I'm Su Xuan.
Shui, Yan?
He suddenly smiled at me. Insu looks like a different person when he smiles and doesn't. He smiles with a little bit of ice melting on his face. And, have you been here all along?
Yes, I've been here along.
I was about to say something when Insu spoke up and said,
Don't you want to go down the mountain? I'll walk you down.
He came over to me and took my hand, pulling out a white oil paper umbrella from nowhere. Oh, it's so cold. He's got an alarmingly low body temperature. I let him pull me along. On the way down, the snow got lighter and lighter. It actually stopped when was almost at the bottom of the mountain. The sky was white, and the warm yellow sunset shone into the roots of the trees.
Here we are, rest of the way back, you go on your own, I can only send you here.
Insu suddenly turned his head to look at me. Followed him, his face zoomed in front of me suddenly. I blushed. Thank you. I walked forward and turned around to see him still standing behind me. After a moment's hesitation, I asked, "Will you always be at the Mountain God Temple? And will I find you if I go looking for you later?" Insu looked at me with a meaningful look in her eyes.
If you call me, I'll be there.
He threw in the word and left. I looked in the direction he left for a long time. I got home late. As soon as I walked in the door, my mother asked me why I was home so late. "It's snowing heavily today." Mom mused that it hadn't snowed heavily like it in Snow Moon Mountain for more than 10 years. "Mom, is there really a mountain god on Snow Moon Mountain?"
No one has ever seen the mountain god, but the mountain god does bless us.
My intuition told me that the teenager I met today would not be an ordinary human being. But he didn't mean any harm. He even protected me down the mountain. I went back to the place the next day. I looked around the mountain temple for a while, looking left and right.
What are you looking for?
I looked up and saw Insu sitting in a tree, smiling at me. "I'm looking for you."
What do you want with me?
"Thank you for yesterday, I brought you pastries." I blushed and handed him the bag, and he jumped down from the tree. Taking it from my hand, my fingertips lightly touched my fingers. I shivered, but my heart thumped. "Have you lived here long?"
Yeah, it's been a long time.
He leaned against the railing on the outer edge of the mountain temple and tilted his head. The slender white neck seemed as if it would be pierced by light. I was watching him from underneath. I've never seen anyone so good-looking. He suddenly looked back at me and smiled at me.
Are you sneaking a peek at me?
I looked away. No.
Don't you have to go to school?
I'm not well. I'll be on vacation a lot.
So you don't like going to school?
He stared at me, his blue-gray pupils like he was looking at something through me. Don't like it. I don't have many friends at school because I don't go to school much. He reached out and flicked me on the forehead. It's so cold.
Is it cold?
He reached out and took my hand, and I shivered from the cold. He smiled wryly. His face is full of teenage mischief.
If you don't want to go to school in the future, come and play with me. I'll always be there if you look for me.
I spent the rest of the winter with Insu. It's like time flies when you're with him. He took me all over Snow Moon Mountain. It's always a good time with him. You've never been out of Snow Moon Mountain?
No, I've been out before.
So you can go out and play?
Yes, but I don't like it.
So, do you have any favorites?
Yes.
He turned his head and stared at me with another sly smile. He reached out and tapped his index finger on my lips. My face went red. He laughed out loud at my reaction. What's so funny? I pretended to be a little angry. I was staring at his smile out of my mind. The wind blew over and ruffled his white hair, and he glowed in the warm sunlight. Insu. It's like I can hear the echo of my heartbeat in the wind. He turned around and smiled at me.
Hell?
I stuttered with a red face. I really want to be able to stay with you all the time at Snow Moon Mountain. Insu looked at me, an unknown emotion flashing in his eyes. Another gust of wind. The pear tree overhead shook, and snow fell and scattered over his head and mine. It looks like there's been a big snowstorm. He leaned down. His lips were cold, and my face burned. It snowed heavily, and it seemed sudden in April. He kissed me in the snow. When I got home, I got very sick. I'm in bed with a high fever. I've been having strange dreams in my head. The light is strange and ever-changing. I dreamed of Insu's face. In the dream, he was dressed differently than in this day and age. Holding a girl in an old-fashioned dress. They were embracing in the snow. They stick together through the winter. The warmth in Insu's eyes melted one's heart. I heard him call this girl named Shuiyin. I'd like to get in there and look at the girl's face. But I can't see it. When I woke up, I didn't know what day it was anymore. The light snow falling outside the window and the snow on the ground tells me what's been going on all this time. Mother's coming home from outside. Hugged me and said with a sob that I finally woke up. I slept for 3 days and 3 nights, and it snowed for the same time. I look out the window and contemplate the snow that has stopped. After I recovered, I rushed to the mountain temple. I saw Insu sitting on the railing and staring. I went behind him and wrapped my arms around his waist. Insu. He reached out and covered my hand. I marveled at the normal warmth of his hands. He jumped off the railing. I feel like he's gotten a little taller. It warm?
Su Shuiyin, take me home.
Insu, your body temperature?
Take me home.
He leaned over and hugged me, and in the crook of my neck I felt 2 cold tears.
Shuiyin, take me home.
I hugged him back and felt my eyes get sore.
You should have noticed. I am not human being. But, I am now. And I've given up all my 1,000 years of Taoism. Shuiyin. No, mountain goddess. I miss you so much. I can hardly remember you anymore.
A goose feather snowstorm. I'm standing under the pear tree with Insu in my arms. I'm a maiden reincarnated as the mountain goddess. Insu is a snow demon. The year I was born, it snowed a lot. Insu has been guarding the relics left behind by the mountain god in the mountain temple. He waited for a long, long time, so long that he didn't know how much time had passed. He waited alone for me and until saw me again. He hid the waves running through his eyes when he saw me. He looked at me calmly. Legend has it that the mountain god saved the wounded snow demon, and the snow demon wanted to repay the mountain god. Stayed with her forever. The mountain god named the snow demon. Walking alone on silver millet ground, 1 step at a time, the sound of jade sand. So named Insu. I wonder what it was like for Insu to watch the mountain god pass away in front of him. But now we're just Su Shuiyin and Junior Insu. I took his hand and walked down the mountain. leaving a mountain full of snow on Mountain Snow Moon. The snow demon Insu and the mountain god also stayed in Mountain Snow Moon forever.